All right, I think let's get started here. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Anup Mehrotra, Senior Vice President with the NetSmarts Group, and I'll be your host moderator for this session today. Thank you for joining us today. By the end of this session, you'll know exactly how to move your on-premise infrastructure to the cloud without writing a check for it, because Microsoft funds a large part of this journey, and most organizations in this region don't yet realize it. NetSmarts is a trusted Microsoft solutions partner for Azure migration and modernization services, having its headquarters in New York and a strong presence in Dubai, as well as globally. We are a team of 1,500 plus and have been in business for the last 26 plus years. So quick housekeeping on my side. For the next few minutes, we will explain the whole program and then we open the floor for questions. Please drop them in the Q&A section and we'll get them at the end for you to answer. So today I'm joined with two experts. First, Mr. Harneet Singh, CISO and SVP from the NetSmarts Group, driving our cybersecurity and cloud ops practice. Harneet will walk you through the why, the how, and what a migration actually looks like. Harneet, welcome, and thank you for joining.
Thanks,
From the Microsoft side, we have Mr. Ramaswamy KA, referred as Ram, Solutions Manager, Cloud and AI Platforms. When we get to the part where everyone leans in for how the funding actually works, Ram will take you through it directly. Ram, great to have you here. Thank you for joining, sir.
Thanks, Anup. Thank you. Hi, all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. So I think we will deep dive and start in the session today. So Harneet, if you can just move to the agenda slide, that will help us drive the next screen. Great. So what we're going to cover today are basically these 6 pillars. Of course, we'll start with why MENA organizations must move to the cloud now. The now is important. The lift and shift explained the faster path to Azure and how that is secured. So we'll kind of go through that motion. The benefits of moving to Azure, security, cost, scale, all of that will be detailed out and explained to you guys. The entire journey of migration and what to expect. We'll kind of define that. And then finally, Microsoft funding, how that plays a role and how we can access that program. And then in the end, we'll go through the complete question and answers and next steps in terms of how we can get this program rolled out. So feel free to, kind of send your questions on the Q&A section and we'll drive it from there. Over to you, Harneet, to take the next steps and drive the first agenda here. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Anup. Really glad to be here and help everyone out with the next steps here. So as you can see on my screen right now, these 3 numbers, they tell the whole story. So by end of this year, 75% of the enterprises across this region will be cloud first. And this is not a forecast anymore, believe me. Like it's the majority that's happening around us. Second is the 20%. This is the average utilization of a typical on-premise server. You bought the hardware, you power it, cool it, patch it, maintain it, and almost 4/5 of it sits idle, like full price for a fraction of value. That's what you guys are paying right now. And third, over $1 million every 3 to 5 years just to refresh that hardware. Like, the chips get obsolete, the RAM gets old, a cost that comes around again and again, just like a clockwork. $1 million, guys, that's a lot of money, right? So what are the pain points here? The first one being the capex burden, huge upfront spend on a fixed cycle that the CFO doesn't control. Security gaps, the IT team you guys have is drowning in patching instead of moving the business forward, right? You have to maintain the hardware, you have to maintain your data centers, servers, make sure they are patched, they are safe. The scale up is limited. It is specific to us. Like what happened when your Ramadan traffic spikes, right? It's year-end traffic spikes. On-prem can't flex fast enough. You just can't buy new servers and make them scale and then return those servers, right? It's not on demand. The biggest risk which we just saw during the recent times is the disaster recovery, right? The most organization here, they still don't have a disaster recovery plan they can trust. Talent drain. Your best engineers maintaining those boxes instead of building the new tech stack you need, right? And then finally, the compliance. The UAE information assurance, Saudi NCA requirements, they keep evolving. Keeping pace on-prem is expensive. Like we have to make sure everything is patched, you are compliant, so on, so forth, right? The good news here is there is a way out faster, which lowers the risk than most people assume. That's lift and shift. Okay. And it's the fastest way to Azure. So we'll be talking about the 6 R's you see here. When people they hear cloud migration, they imagine a massive, scary rebuild. It doesn't have to be that way, guys. It's let's and the industry is talking about this 6 R's today. Rehosting, replatform, refactor, repurchase, retire, and retain. Most of them are heavy lifts, but first the rehost, that is also called lift and shift, it's the fastest lane out there. In plain language, you take your existing virtual machines, your existing physical machines, applications, databases exactly as they are, and we move them into Azure with zero or a very minimal code change, right? Like it's negligible. Just imagine that you are lifting your infrastructure right now and setting it down far on a far more platform which is powerful instantly. Same applications, same logins, the end users, they won't even notice that the floor has moved, right? And the question again comes, why do we start here? So number one, it's the fastest path out there. You can migrate in weeks, not months. It has lowest risk out there. No application code change means nothing breaks. Like your applications, your e-commerce products, your SaaS-based applications, they keep on running as nothing has changed. You start seeing immediate cost savings. The moving the moment you exit your data center, your electricity bill stops, your maintenance bill stops, the usual bills they stop coming, right? And then you have guaranteed business continuity, zero end user disruption, you have infrastructure that is scalable on demand. So what's the foundation here? The foundation is we need to modernize on Azure at your own pace, right? So it doesn't have to be a rush out there. It doesn't have to be that we have to do everything in 2 days. You can take your own pace. You can migrate application in phases. And we'll talk about that in the coming slides, right? Lift and shift isn't the finish line. It's just on the ramp, like savings, security first, then you optimize, and then if you decide, you do the transition, right? Sorry. So let's see what exactly are we guys landing on. Let's look at what Azure gives us for a Mina based organization right now. The 6 reasons you see on my screen right now, they are that this is what they are worth doing it, right? The headline number on each, cost savings. You guys can save up to 85% of total costs bringing your existing Windows and SQL Server licenses with Azure Hybrid benefit. Another 72% with reserved instances. So the moment you quit to Azure that, okay, we are going to use your physical infrastructure for 1 year or 3 year or a savings plan where you give that commitment for a long time, you get a huge amount of discount on your day-to-day running of that particular virtual machine in Azure, right? So you move from capital expenditure, CapEx, to a predictable operating model, no more refresh cycles ever, right? The enterprise security, this is something Microsoft invests very heavily into. Over $1 billion a year, guys. Like this is something which no organization on this call can match that internally. I'm sure. Like you guys are great, you are doing great, but investing over $1 billion in cybersecurity, you're not going to match that in near future just for the cybersecurity point of view. Then speaking about again, we spoke about UAE, IEA, Saudi NCA compliance, and above this you get in-region data residency, right? So that's something which Azure brings onto the table. Business continuity, 99.99% uptime SLA, Azure site recovery with recovery points that are in seconds, geo redundancy across the UAE and KSA, the DR gap that I mentioned in the previous slide, it's closed. We don't have to even worry about the disaster recovery anymore. the scale on demand, right? We spoke about that few minutes back. What happens when the Ramadan peaks, right? What happens when the year-end sales come in? Without over provisioning, you simply scale up your infrastructure on demand. You bring it down back. You do not pay for it when you don't need it. So these are again some of the benefits or which can where you can focus on driving your business instead of managing your on-prem data centers right now, right? And then we have data sovereignty. This is something that unblocks Azure. Like Azure has a region inside the UAE and Saudi Arabia. The data stays in region, period. There is no debate on that. The data never leaves that region, right? And then you have access to the latest innovation on demand, right? Once you are there, Azure OpenAI, Copilot, Power Platform, 200 plus services just a click away, right? So what do we achieve by doing this? Lower costs, uh, data sovereignty, and those are the decisions that make this move a lot easier for you guys, right? So now let's talk about if that's the destination, what does the trip itself look like? What are the different phases that you will see while you move your stuff from on-prem to the sorry to the Azure, right? So we are talking about four phases here, very predictable. Each ends with something concrete in your hands. Phase one, we discover and assess. Typically 2 to 4 weeks. We will deploy Azure Migrate. We will inventory every server, every application, map the dependencies, build a cost model with right sizing. You walk away with a migration readiness report. That's the deliverable for this phase. Phase two, where the actual planning starts. Typical time period, again, 2 to 3 weeks. We define the migration waves. We design your Azure landing zones. We set up the networking, identity, your security, your governance baselines. The deliverable here is your complete Azure blueprint. We speak about your complete Azure blueprint. That's the deliverable. Phase three is where the actual migration starts. We migrate and then validate everything. Typical 4 to 12 weeks, depending upon the machines or the workloads you have in on-prem or different clouds right now. Migration runs through Azure Site Recovery. We run on-prem and Azure in parallel, right? So your current infrastructure, your parallel infrastructure, both of them are running in parallel right now. We validate every workload, and then we cut over. Zero disruption, deliverable, you are live on Azure. Nothing changes for your end clients. They don't even know something went down. The downtime here is minimal. It's just as simple as a DNS cutover. Okay. Phase four, we optimize, we grow, and this is like an ongoing phase. We remodernize the application, we right size based on the real usage we see out there. We set budgets, we set the cost management, enable Azure backups, modernize on your timeline, and that's when the savings they start compounding, right? A machine, for example, you had a machine on your premise or different cloud, which was let's say 16 cores. On Azure, you see those 16 cores are only being utilized, let's say 20%. You bring it down to 4 cores, you save a huge cost on those 12 cores that were not being utilized, right? So a huge cost savings, they compound as you grow your workloads, you right size your workloads. The main thing to understand here, guys, is that both of your workloads run in parallel during your migration. So even if something goes bad on your Azure instance, which is under the testing, you always have your on-prem workload running. So you don't see any downtime, you don't see any uh, bad thing happening with any of your data or any zero disruption is as I would like to call it. So parallel run, zero disruption. This is what totally de-risks the decision for a nervous stakeholder or someone like who is hesitant to move to Azure, right? And I can share a real world example here, right? We just did a very huge migration for one of the MENA clients. It was a mid retail size company. It was a mid-sized retailer in Riyadh. They had around 40 on-premise servers. ERP systems on premise, a huge number of file servers, a SQL database, SQL Server database, hardware that was getting old, due for refresh, and they were staring at a 900,000 to $1 million capital decision. I'm assuming if you guys are on data center right now, this would sound a lot familiar to you guys, like refreshing your data centers every 3 to 5 years. Sorry, and then making sure that you're refreshing all of that data, all of those hardwares right now. It's a huge capex, right? So, what was the outcome with the Azure Accelerate or AMP, as we call it? They saved good $900,000 USD in hardware cost. That was avoided in total, right? 8 weeks, they were starting to fully migrate. 35% reduction in an ongoing IT operation costs, and they had free extended security updates on their SQL 2014 workload, right? So some businesses, some application, same businesses, same application, same users, and $1 million of capital freed up. Running of the operating cost, one third of what they were already paying, right? A stronger security posture just in 8 weeks. A total of 8 weeks, and these guys were on Azure, running their business entirely on the cloud, right? A couple of things you have heard in these slides till now. AMP, free, Microsoft funded. You don't have to write a check. Anup spoke a lot about it. Security updates, right? And that's not magic. That's Microsoft funding the moves for all of you guys. And there is no one better to explain that other than the Microsoft. And then we have Ram here from Microsoft who can explain that directly to you guys. So over to you, Ram, for the next slide. Just let me know when you're ready.
Hey, thanks, Harneet. Thank you. Am I loud and clear?
You are Ram. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Perfect. Harneet, I just wanted to move slide number 6. Let's go back to slide number 6 to talk about the funding.
This one?
Yep. We can stay here. Good. First, let me take a moment to thank everybody who has taken the time out today to join us here. And it's our pleasure to have you here. And we believe that we will definitely make your time worthwhile from these sessions, right? And it was an interesting session where Harneet kind of made the lift and shift look very simple. And of course, it's very simple because there's something that we have started doing day in, day out, both at our partners and at Microsoft. So thank you, team. Thanks for bringing us together. And I just want to take a few minutes to talk about the kind of investments that we bring onto the table from Microsoft. So as we looked in these slides, like there are different phases in which you move from wherever you are currently today to Azure, right? So you might be having these infra in your on-premises. It could be on a third-party data center. It could be on a public cloud like AWS or GCP or whatever it is, right? But there is a few phases in which you would take this journey of moving it from wherever it is currently to Azure. So the first one, if you look at it, it's the discover and assess phase where you do a proper assessment of what is the assets that you have currently and what is the to be that you would want it to be, and what will it take in terms of timeline, in terms of the cost, in terms of the services or the manpower that is required. So you will assess all of those things and make a project plan or a phase-wise plan for you for the movement, right? And this involves a significant amount of man-hours to assess this and to come out with the right assessment reports or outcome or whatever it is, right? So this is a cost for the partner company, right? And NetSmart would be spending on this money. So what Microsoft will be doing is we will fund this engagement. So the customer doesn't have to spend, you don't have to spend the money, the partner doesn't have to spend. You can charge that back to Microsoft, and we would be investing in terms of this assessment. So it's a free assessment that comes to you. It's a non-commitment free assessment, which will be funded by Microsoft. You decide that, okay, we have got the assessment and we know what we want to move, but still we would want to test and try few of the things where we want to do a proof of concept of certain critical applications. You want to see that how does that work on Azure, right? You might want to do that testing. So you might need some amount of Azure resources credits that is required to test that. Microsoft is willing to fund that piece also for you to go ahead and do a POC and test it, right? You don't have to invest, you don't have to spend your money on that. We are willing to invest on that with you. Once you're through with this, you decide that yes, I'm good to go with Azure. I'm moving everything lock, stock, and barrel onto Azure. And then comes a phase where you decide like how much of time frame it takes, how many weeks you're going to do this migration, when is going to be your go live, when are you going to cut over. You decide all of these things, and then there is a services component that comes in. The real deployment and migration or implementation, however you call it, it comes in place, and there is a significant manpower cost attached to it, right? There is a services cost attached to it. This again will be funded completely by Microsoft, right? You don't have to spend the money on that. The partner doesn't have to spend. Microsoft is willing to invest along with you in this journey for you, right? So we have a program called Azure Accelerate, which will fund this program, and we will fund this engagement so that the services becomes free for you. And while doing the services, you might be moving this from AWS, or you might be doing it from a third-party data center where you will be spending cost, which means during the migration for the resources running on Azure, you're going to pay for it. And there is a resource that's already running the same workload on a different environment for which you're going to pay for it. We don't want you to do that. We will cover and mitigate that cost, that double cost. You don't have to have a double cost there. You continue paying the cost where you're currently incurring it. As long as you go live till the phase is completed for this migration, we are willing to fund that also, right? So you don't have a double cost to be paid. And then once you're settled, you're stabilized down the line, 3 months, 6 months, you want to do an optimization, right? We have something called WAF, which is the well-architected framework, which will give you a lot of optimization options, cost management options. How do you do a DR? How do you have your business continuity set up? All of these things, again, we could do an assessment. We could take you through the same investment options and then have you onboarded onto Azure completely. So we are here to support you and to kind of fund this engagement completely from end to end, from the point where you say that, guys, please go ahead and do this. From there, we are going to fund it till we take you there, and where you say that, yes, we are on Azure, right? We are there with you. We are willing to co-invest with you. We are going to put money on the table to support you on this engagement. And you have our commitment and our solution technology architects working with you in terms of this migration. So I think we should move on to the next steps, or I think maybe a couple of points on this slide 8, I think. Yeah, apart from these fundings and everything, you have your existing licenses, which if it comes with enough software assurance already, you can reuse those on the hybrid model again. You can save a huge significant cost in terms of those licenses investments that you have made. And another option is, or the most critical option is, there will be some amount of resources, and typically what we see in multiple customer environments is that at least about 50 to 60% of their resources are more or less fixed for the next 1 year and 3 years, right? You're not going to keep changing the sizing of the machines and all of those things in between. Those kind of resources, we could go ahead and put them on something called the reserved instances, which can bring down the cost up to 72%. Right? When you reserve it for 3 years, the cost comes down up to 72% on the pay-you-go pricing. So for typically, like if you're going to if it's $100 resource, you're going to pay $28 on that when you're going to reserve it. And that's again a significant cost savings that you will get. So there's enough and more programs and investments that's coming from Microsoft. And there are also enough and more credits and discounts that we can offer on this. So now we would strongly suggest, please bring us on to the discussion where we could really look at your infrastructure, your environment, and see that what will it take for us to move you from point A to point B. It's a non-committal assessment that we can support you with. We could provide you with a complete assessment report, which will give you a complete idea in terms of what will it take in terms of the cost, in terms of timelines, in terms of effort, all of that. Then it's up to you to decide like what do you want to take from there. I strongly suggest that please invite us for a discussion where we could kick off this journey for you along with NetSmarts. Thank you. We can move on.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Harneet. That was really power-packed and very insightful. Much appreciated. So I hope everyone who's joined the session today got good perspective of how this program works, the Azure Accelerate program. And of course, as next steps, it costs you nothing to start your complimentary assessment journey with us. And we'll have that completed road mapped out for you and then kind of go from there. So the first step, of course, is to, kind of reach out and book your assessment. I'll drop my email address here so you can reach out to us and, kind of book that assessment and we can, start that journey for you guys. But then happy to take any questions from anyone so that, the panel can really answer those for you and we kind of close out the session for today. And as both Ram and Harneet explained, the first step is no obligation, no cost. So there is definitely nothing for you guys to lose on that side.
I guess the mics are disabled for the attendees, so you can type in your question in the Q&A section. Yeah.
You can type in your questions and we'll be able to answer those for you.
I guess so. He is
All right. So price comparison, especially with other low price provider. That's one question that has come up from Mr. Intikab. So Harneet, Ram, do you guys want to take that? So if we understand the question correctly, you want a price the report, that assessment that we'll provide to you will have a price comparison with other price providers. Is that what the question is?
No, I believe he's asking if what would the pricing on Azure look like as compared to the other providers. So we would be like the report would have your Azure pricing. It doesn't typically have the comparison of with other providers there, but it gives you the pricing on what it looks like on Azure. But as we took this in the slides previous to this or prior to this in the hub is that the pricing on Azure is already very competitive. And once you do the reservations or saving plans, and once you bring your own licenses there, the saving there is humongous, right? So 78% on compute, another 40% on your Windows licenses. So you're paying pennies for a dollar out there in the cap, if that answers your query there. Anything else we could help you with in the cap? Thank you.
Great.
So I think, Anup, we can wrap the person since no more queries are coming in, and we can send out a survey link, and we could always reach out to everyone here to help us out with their questions if they still have any follow-up questions out there.
Absolutely. We'll do that. So thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate your time, and you'll have this deck as well as the survey questions in your inbox. And feel free to reach out, and we look forward to starting your assessment journey soon. Thank you, Harneet. Thank you, Ram, for your time today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
It was really great
Bye-bye.
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.